अच्छा, अगर आज किसी को अपना कैब बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना है, व्हाट्स द बिगेस्ट बैरियर टू एंट्री?
The Bangalore airport market or route is one of the most profitable routes in the country across Delhi and Bangalore.
Where is the EV industry headed in India according to you? Like किसी दो गाड़ी वाले से पूछो तो वो तो इतना अच्छा आंसर नहीं कर सकता है, लेकिन हैविंग 150 EVs, तो डू यू एवर सी शॉफर को एक नॉर्मल कैब कंपनी बनते हुए, समथिंग लाइक उबर, रैपिडो, लाइक ऐसा कुछ है विजन अभी? हाउ इज़ बैंगलोर फॉर स्टार्टअप? अगर आज किसी को अपना कुछ स्टार्ट करना है तो एक चीज़ होती है कि लोग बोलते हैं कि बस घर से बाहर जाने उस वे में निकल जाएं, या एक्चुअली डज बैंगलोर प्रोवाइड एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ वैल्यू?
Exploring anything else.
इन सच अ लेबर इंटेंसिव बिजनेस, दो सिटीज़ में भी ऑपरेट करना, लाइक हाउ वाज इट एक्सपैंडिंग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम? क्योंकि एक्सपीरियंस तो इतना ज़्यादा होगा नहीं कि नए सिटी में पूरा स्क्रैच से स्टार्ट करा, एंड ऑल ऑफ इट डिपेंड्स ऑन ड्राइवर. हाय गाइस, माय नेम इज़ प्रखर वाधवानी, एंड आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट जुड़ने जा रहे हैं, मिस्टर विकास सर, जिन्होंने शुरुआत करी थी शॉफर कंपनी अपनी 7 जॉब्स छोड़ने के बाद. सो मेक श्योर यू लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू दिस चैनल. सो व्हाई शॉफर पर्टिकुलरली? Like, why did you get an idea that you have to start something in such a saturated space where people like already Ola is existing, Uber is existing, and then Rapido, like recently the headlines mein aaya. So what made you start Shoffr?
Starting Shoffr, or deciding to start Shoffr, was purely a financial decision because saw the opportunity to earn alpha, and that is basically supernormal profits in the world of finance. It's called alpha. And the idea came about because I had free time on my hand, and my friend was looking to buy a car, and we were test driving a bunch of them, and one of them happened to be the Nexon EV, and it was a great experience. Like, it was smooth, powerful, quiet, and we loved it. The thing was that the Nexon EV was about 3 lakhs more expensive than the Nexon petrol diesel. And that's in general true for EVs. Like, the initial purchase cost is higher than the petrol diesel equivalent.
You recover it over time.
But the operational or the running costs of the fuel specifically is much, much lower. So the question that we had to answer, or rather he was trying to figure out, was like, does it make sense for me to buy? And his usage was like 1,000 kilometers ke aaspas every month. So which is fairly average for, like, people with their private cars. So in his case, to recover that 3 lakh, it would have taken him 6-7 years. So it didn't make sense for him to buy, or at least he thought he shouldn't buy that. But the modeling is very simple. His usage was about 1,000 kilometers a month or 12,000 kilometers a year, and hence it didn't make sense. But if you're a taxi guy, taxi driver, or operator, you should be running a car for like 250-300 kilometers a day. Now, if you're running 9,000 kilometers a month, then suddenly you not only recover that extra initial delta very quickly, you can actually make money out of it. So that was the starting point. That realization was the starting point of exploring, okay, why is no one else doing this? This is a simple model, sab log, matlab, ye to sabko hi clear hoga. Then figuring out and doing our research, due diligence, and ultimately having the conviction to start Shoffr.
So why you chose Bangalore particularly for starting this?
I happen to live in Bangalore is the honest, simplest answer. But then once that idea started forming, it made a lot of things, fell into place. Like, a lot of pieces fell into place. The Bangalore airport market or route is one of the most profitable routes in the country. Definitely in Bangalore, but also in the country, and this is true for across aggregators. So that we had that clarity. Obviously, it's common knowledge. You speak to most drivers in Bangalore, they will tell you that they will try as much to get airport duties if possible.
Yeah.
So Bangalore had that anyways. We happened to live in Bangalore, had friends here, had our network here, So choice of Bangalore was fortuitous in that sense. That we happened to be here, and it was a great opportunity.
So, like, you started in Bangalore, but if you go to cities like Mumbai and all, so as soon as you exit airport, you will see a lot of cars with yellow number plates. Like, there'll be some E-classes, or maybe you can say like something in Benz BMW वाली ही sector only, and that luxury Shoffr service. And ये वाली चीज़ बैंगलोर में इतनी ज़्यादा common नहीं थी. So what was that like an instant kind of a thing कि ये वाली चीज़ मेरे को चालू करनी है and provide that premium experience to people? यहाँ सोचा था कि बस कैब को formalize करना है.
Yeah, मतलब I think those are two different experiences to begin with, right? Like I don't want to compare our services with like, providing a Mercedes or a Bentley equivalent, as you say in Bombay, right? That said, because EVs existed, the existing experience that was provided in the segment at that price point, we felt like that could be upgraded without tinkering too much with the pricing.
Okay, so पता नहीं बट ये वाली चीज़ में आई पर्सनली फील कि आपने बैंगलोर में ये वाली चीज़ स्टार्ट करी एंड यहाँ पर जो ऑलरेडी कैब माफिया जिसको बोला जाता है एक वो वाले वे में था कि आपको शहर के किसी भी पॉइंट से एयरपोर्ट जाना है फेयर वॉज ऑलमोस्ट फिक्स कि 1100-1200 रुपये लाइक 1100-1200 रुपीज़ ही लगने वाले हैं आपको. सो वॉट मीड यू थिंक कि और ड्राइवर्स कैसे अग्री करें आपके साथ इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस टू जॉइन यू क्योंकि दे कुड हैव गॉटन अ हेफ्टी प्रॉफिट अगर वो लोग कार लाइक अब तो लीजिंग इज़ सो ईजी फॉर देम कि कार कहीं से गए उन्होंने अपनी एक स्विफ्ट डिज़ायर लीज करी और उसके बाद पूरे शहर में ओला उबर करते हुए लोगों को एडवर्टाइज़ कर रहे हैं कि जस्ट इन केस आपको एयरपोर्ट जाना है ये नंबर ले लो. लाइक ड्यूरिंग माई फर्स्ट ईयर इन कॉलेज मैं जितनी भी कैब्स में जाता था मोस्ट ऑफ देम यूज टू गिव मी दिस थिंग कि आप लाइक 1100-1200 में मैं आपको एयरपोर्ट छोड़ दूंगा और दूसरा दिन में चलोगे 800 में भी छोड़ दूंगा. सो वो वाले वे में कैसे ड्राइवर्स ने अग्री करा इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस टू जॉइन?
सो for drivers as well, right? Like driving as a profession is a very old profession. So even before Ola, Uber or aggregators came into this picture, drivers had driving jobs. Now they could have been working for like an individual fleet owner of 10-15 cars with whatever arrangement, either fixed rentals pay or profit sharing pay. And there were formalized players as well, like radio taxis the Meru tha. So mega cabs, these players were there. Then Ola, Uber came and they really kind of highlighted or pushed forward the driver come owner model. But that doesn't mean like all drivers switched, because that is essentially kind of like a mini business of sorts. You have an investment to make, which is buying a car or deciding to give a fixed rental to get access to a car, and then your earnings can fluctuate depending on the day, right? So there are drivers who are willing to take that risk and they operate on such platforms, and there are drivers who are happy with a fixed job or rather a steady income of sorts with like some incentives that are variable and all of that. And it's not like we seeded that market. There are enough companies in different spaces, like in employee transport, corporate travel, even individual drivers who were earlier doing jobs at like a personal residence or household of sorts. These are drivers who want a steady income and something on top, and that's why the pool of drivers that we attract they are essentially more on this side of the business as opposed to on the more risk taking and higher earning potential but also more risk side of things. तो वो अलग हो जाता है मतलब बेसिकली.
हाँ, मतलब ड्राइवर के लिए भी एक कंफर्ट वाली चीज़ हो गई है वो. हाँ. आज कितनी ईवीज़ हैं आपके पास?
About 150 across Delhi and Bangalore.
Where is the EV industry headed in India according to you? Like किसी 2 गाड़ी वाले से पूछो तो वो तो इतना अच्छा आंसर नहीं कर सकता है, लेकिन having 150 EVs तो
I mean, the EV industry is a huge industry, right? We are just one small part of it, which is electric 4-wheelers. There are 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, there is charge point operators, there are battery recyclers. So the EV space is huge.
Actually, I was seeing that day किसी ने बोला था कि the next $1 billion opportunity lies in like these battery recycling and solar plants recycling और solar panels, क्योंकि ये सब चीज़ें बस बनती जा रही हैं, इसका प्रोडक्शन इतना ज़्यादा है, बट ये जब ख़राब होंगी उसके बाद का किसी का प्लान नहीं है.
Yeah, there are companies that are working on that front. I don't know how big an opportunity that is, but it's fair to say that with each passing year, more and more batteries will be consumed of larger and larger sizes. So that trend is here to stay.
अच्छा, एंड like EVs are providing a better this thing customer experience also according to you?
In general, yes, there are people have all kinds of preferences. There are people I know who love the sound of a petrol engine, especially in different form factors like a bike. There are people who, from a driving perspective, love the power that a diesel engine provides. But from a regular, like as if I am a traveler sitting in a car, personally, I would prefer that because it's noiseless. And for me, like, like in city traffic, there's enough chaos and noise anyways. This kind of like really helps in the commute. And I think I don't want to say as that is a true generalization, but I think enough people do find that as a preferred factor.
100%. Like Shoffr driven में तो electric obviously better है. अच्छा, do you ever see Shoffr को एक normal cab company बनते हुए, something like Uber, Rapido, like ऐसा कुछ है vision अभी?
Vision to become a normal cab company. I mean,
Normal in the sense like मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि you are degrading your services.
Okay.
आज जो आपके लिए जो airport commute वाली service है, just the same way, आप पूरी city में ऐसे वो करना चाहोगे?
Not in the near future. There is enough scope in the existing business lines that we operate. Airport is one part of it, but we also do like hourly rentals in the city. Like if you need the car for like 4 hours, 8 hours. We also do outstation travel, which is a very big market. And we have corporate partnerships, or we provide cars for weddings and events as well. So these things combined today is like a huge opportunity in itself that we would much rather first capitalize on and go deep in. And then let's see how things unfold, how the EV ecosystem evolves, and then we can take that call as those things play out. But in the near future, our focus is on the things that we are already doing because there's so much scope there.
How big is the corporate partnership and cab wala market total?
I'm not sure is the honest answer. The corporate partnerships, as in corporate travel, corporate
Okay,
travel
let's not go to numbers, but still, is it a big chunk of what you're doing, or
for us.
for you and like in general also कि corporate companies like एक time पे ये होता था कि सिर्फ एक होम लोन वाली जो चीज़ होम लोन नहीं सॉरी जो एक हाउसिंग सैलरी में एक एडेड पॉइंट होता था कि हाउस इंक्लूडेड है सो जस्ट द सेम वे कि लाइक ये सब कंपनी बेनिफिट्स का जो पार्ट है सो वो वाली
No, it's not that. For a lot of so corporate travel as an industry has been around for a long time, way before any of the B2C companies emerged. Because corporate may it's an expense, but it's an expense that companies have to pay because that's required for them to do their daily business. So there are very established companies in that space, like a global player like Oryx, which is a Japanese conglomerate.
Yeah.
They have a decent setup in India. Car Zone is another company in Car Club. So Cars on Rent also. So Mercury Travel. These are all very established traditional business cab companies of sorts, and that these guys have revenue that is anywhere in the range of 500 to 1500 crores a year. It's a very established big market. And these are the established companies. There is a long tail of local vendors that you were talking about or referring to who also are in this, have smaller setups but are in the corporate travel space. So it's a huge market. And it's a very established one.
Yeah.
Same thing for events also, by the way.
ओके सो अभी लाइक आपने इतना सब कुछ जो एक्सप्लेन करा सो बैंगलोर में व्हाट इज़ द एयरपोर्ट सीन लाइक अकॉर्डिंग टू यू व्हाट इज़ द बिगेस्ट इशू कि एयरपोर्ट के लिए इतने ज़्यादा हाई प्राइसेस हैं लाइक टुडे मॉर्निंग मैंने फ्लू टू बैंगलोर तो मैंने उस टाइम पे देखा कि प्राइसेस आर absurdly हाई लाइक obviously I've been living here for the past 3 years but still like आज वापस से जब मेरी बात हुई उस टाइम पे अगेन आई वाज थिंकिंग कि इतना absurd प्राइसिंग क्यों है यहाँ पे for airport. Obviously, it's far from the city, but again, it's not a very justified number, I feel.
I think justified, not justified, I don't know how to comment on that, but
नहीं, like,
the distance does play a role because the running cost for a petrol diesel car significantly goes up as the kilometer or distance travel increases. And here, the average distance would be probably 40 kilometers, depending, and higher depending on where you are living in the city. So that, and Bangalore, amongst the larger cities, Bangalore is the one where it's the highest. Like Bombay isn't that far for
Airport.
everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, depends on where you're staying in Bombay, but for a large chunk of travelers, airport isn't far. Same for Delhi. Of course, again, it depends where you are living in these cities, but airport in itself is within the city, whereas in Bangalore, airport is kind of
Very
outside the city, or at the edge of city boundaries.
हाँ बट एक और चीज़ है लाइक बॉम्बे में कल मैं बॉम्बे में था सो आई टुक अ टैक्सी कॉल्ड काली पीली
Of course, the old traditional Bangalore taxi.
तो वो मीटर से मैं पहली बार गया एंड फेयर्स वर अमेजिंग कि लाइक इतने लो पॉसिबल ही नहीं थे सो व्हाई कांट दैट सिस्टम बी अडॉप्टेड हियर
Those are like city choices. For example, like Bombay has a taxi system. Where I grew up in Calcutta, they also have a taxi system. It's the like Bombay में Padmini है, Calcutta में Ambassador चलता था. Bombay में Padmini चलता था along with some ambassadors. But that Kali Pili thing has been retained in those two cities. Delhi also has that. Bangalore doesn't. Never did. Autos were the thing that kind of evolved here. Why can't it be done is not my thing to say. Like those are more choices taken by people kind of who are in charge of the city.
हाउ इज़ बैंगलोर फॉर स्टार्टअप अगर आज किसी को अपना कुछ स्टार्ट करना है तो एक चीज़ होती है कि लोग बोलते हैं कि बस घर से बाहर जाने उस वे में निकल जाएं या एक्चुअली डज बैंगलोर प्रोवाइड एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ वैल्यू लाइक ऑब्वियसली आई हैव बीन हियर फॉर 3 years अभी जैसे अपनी बात हुई बट स्टिल लाइक डू यू थिंक इट रियली हेल्प समवन शेप देयर कंपनी
I mean, it will definitely help. So let me preface this with a caveat, which is to say that it's not like if you're not in Bangalore, you can't get influenced, get inspired, get other people to help shape your company and all of that.
The biggest example जो एक गांव से इतना आगे आ गया
हाँ of course. I mean, वो तो खैर उन्होंने बड़ा किया and गांव पे वापस लाया and things like that, and all of that is there, right? But that said, obviously, because a large part of the ecosystem, startup ecosystem, is Bangalore, it benefits with a lot of trickle down effects of that, right? Like you will have, in general, you will have more exposure to all things startup here. Whether it doesn't matter which stage you are in, right? Like तुम्हें ज्ञान चाहिए तो वो ज़्यादा यहाँ मिलेगा. You want to be hiring, you will have a larger pool to hire from here. You want to just meet investors, odds are higher here because more startup focused investors are based out of here. You want to test out a new product, people are more willing to try out newer things here in general. So those advantages are there, and there's pros and cons to all of it.
इन्वेस्टर की अब आपने बात करी है यूर इन हेडलाइंस फॉर योर इन्वेस्टमेंट कि पहले ऐसी कंपनी थी जिन्होंने यूजर्स से इन्वेस्टमेंट रेज किया था टेल अस अबाउट दैट
I mean, I'm not sure we were first or not, but I think I'm not. But yeah, we did raise about a $1.1 million dollar round from just our users, 100 odd users, and it's a very happy feeling that our customers, our users of Shoffr felt not only that they love the product that much to use it and recommend it to others, but also that this is something that they see will create value for them as well, and in turn for us it was something, a moment of very our conviction, our thesis proving right, the conviction kind of spreading to others, and a validation of sorts that your customers are willing to invest in your company as well. So yeah, it was very happy that we pulled it off.
दैट्स मैड लाइक क्योंकि यूजर्स से वो करना अच्छा एक थिंक स्कूल का एक पॉडकास्ट था उसमें गणेश वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस थिंग ओनली कि अगरबत्ती आई फॉरगॉट द इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग इट वाज साइकिल पे और अगरबत्ती व्हाट दैट गाय यूज्ड टू डू कि साइकिल पे जाता था एंड सबको बोलता था कि मैं 2 अगरबत्ती ही दूंगा सो पहले तो गए और रिजेक्ट हुए और उसके बाद उन्होंने जाके बोला कि मैं एक बार में से 2 या 3 दूंगा जाओ घर में लगाओ फिर जब सबको अच्छी लगी, उसने खुद ने एक्सेप्ट करना चालू करी, तो उसके बाद जाके उसने फिर फाइनली उसका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन स्टार्ट किया. सो जस्ट द वे कि लाइक लोगों ने शॉफर ट्राई करी, उनको अच्छा लगा, एंड सो ये तो ऑब्वियसली एक बहुत ही अच्छी कंटेंट वाली फीलिंग रही होगी कि लोग ने पैसे तो दिए ही दिए राइट के, उसके अलावा दे वांट टू इन्वेस्ट मोर कि विल ग्रो विद देम.
Yeah.
एंड आर यू लुकिंग फॉर एनी फ्यूचर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स अभी, या लाइक
It's mixed. Like you're not, no, we are not looking actively, but we are also not like
कोई आया तो मना कर देंगे?
कि outright no hai. It lot depends on how the conversation goes, because obviously capital is one thing that will be the obvious thing and it helps, but it's also important to kind of know the investors have the same values aligned, see what their vision is. Is that fitting? How is that fitting with our vision? Are we kind of like on similar pages as to on the trajectory the company will have? So all those things matter. I mean, outcomes sabko same chahiye, which is like great returns, which the investor will also want, and we obviously want more than anyone else, right? But how we get to that outcome and those things are things that we are very mindful about.
अच्छा, और अभी बैंगलोर और दिल्ली में आपका इतना ज़्यादा है, तो why not some city like हैदराबाद और like other places जहाँ पे भी एयरपोर्ट इज़ फार ओनली, क्योंकि द मेन थिंग इज़ कि एयरपोर्ट से like commute is the worst part, क्योंकि you have just landed from a flight and like for example if my dad travels, तो वो उतरते से उनके काम चालू हो जाएंगे, तो वो वाला एक कन्वीनियंस वाली चीज़ आई थिंक दैट मैटर्स अ लॉट, क्योंकि डिजे यात्रा आया, उसने अंदर जाना ईजी बना दिया, अब उसके बाद घर जाना ईजी बनाना इज़ प्रॉब्ली योर जॉब. सो व्हाई नॉट सम अदर सिटी लाइक जहाँ जहाँ पे एयरपोर्ट दूर है वहाँ पर पहले एक्सपैंड करने का प्लान है, या
The immediate plan is to go deeper in the two cities where we are operating. Going to any other city is kind of like starting a new business from scratch, which will make sense for us to do it at some point in the future again. But for now, the two cities where we are operating are very big markets, and we have enough depth to go in both of these two cities before exploring anything else.
इन सच अ लेबर इंटेंसिव बिजनेस दो सिटीज़ में भी ऑपरेट करना, लाइक हाउ वाज इट एक्सपैंडिंग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, क्योंकि एक्सपीरियंस तो इतना ज़्यादा होगा नहीं कि नए सिटी में पूरा स्क्रैच से स्टार्ट करा, एंड ऑल ऑफ इट डिपेंड्स ऑन ड्राइवर. आपके इसमें तो कि अगर मेरे को एक बार ख़राब ड्राइवर मिल गया, आई एम नेवर बुकिंग अ शॉफर अगेन, राइट? तो हाउ वाज इट कि एकदम से लाइक, क्योंकि बैंगलोर दिल्ली तो बहुत बड़ा कल्चरल डिफरेंस भी है.
Yeah, true. Hey, and you have to take those things into account. But good experience remains good experience with some, few accommodations here and there, given the geographical/cultural differences. And the experience that we had in the first 2 years of starting things from scratch in Bangalore and then growing it here obviously helped us a lot in when we were launching in Delhi. So a lot of that is transferable to the next city that you are going, and you not only you obviously transfer the existing knowledge you have, and then you try to kind of balance that out with the differences that are there. Some of them have to be uniquely solved for that particular city. Bad drivers, you can get in either of the cities. And that does happen here with Shoffr as well. Not everyone is on their best moods every day. Even the best of drivers have bad days. And sometimes, drivers do manage to kind of get onboarded and then turn out to be not as good as we thought they were. Their driving may have been great, but then the behavior may not be.
Do you have a proper selection process, like a rigorous one?
Yeah, we do. I mean, obviously, it can be improved and refined upon more, but we do have that. We not only have checks in terms of background checks and all of that, and driving tests and all of that, but also a vibe check of sorts, ki am I liking this person or not? And it's a humans heavy business, so we do go wrong sometimes, but then that's where it matters as to how you deal with things when they are not going well, right? You may have a bad experience with us, and it's possible. Not saying it's not, it happens. How we respond to that, how we address it, how we communicate with you, those things also matter to us.
Yeah, that's obviously there. तो अच्छा, अगर आज किसी को अपना कैब बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना है, व्हाट्स द बिगेस्ट बैरियर टू एंट्री? लाइक अगर आज मेरे को जेप्टो चालू करना है, या मेरे को अपना ब्लिंकिट चालू करना है, तो आई नीड वेरी 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 डीप पॉकेट्स या आई नीड दैट टाइप ऑफ कनेक्शंस, और वो चीज़ लाइक मिलना बहुत मुश्किल है. बट कैब बिजनेस तो मेनली लाइक आपका बहुत कैपिटल इंटेंसिव चीज़ है. बट अगर किसी को ओला उबर रैपिडो अपना बनाना है, बिकॉज यू हैव बीन इन दिस इंडस्ट्री सो क्लोज, तो वो कैसे कर सकता है कि लाइक सिर्फ
Those are different things, right? Like,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
example, their cab business is, especially thanks to the aggregators, cab business is legit like a business for many many households जिनका घर चलता है उससे, right? They are essentially in the business of running a taxi only. They are taking a car on loan or on lease and kind of working every day for certain hours to make sure they get a certain revenue, and they have costs, and they are running their micro business in that sense. So in that sense, the barriers to entry are actually quite small today. Now, that is if you want to be in the simplistic way entering the cab business, right? You want to be building a Uber, Ola, an Amma Yatri or an aggregator of sorts, then it's a different ball game.
अगर एक और टाइप का अगर इसमें अपन बिजनेस एक्सप्लोर करें कि फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई बाय 10 स्विफ्ट डिजायर्स एंड आई लीज ऑल 10 ऑफ देम, या फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई बाय 10 BYD एंड लीज 10 ऑफ देम टू यू, तो इज दैट अ बिगर बिजनेस देन एग्रीगेटर?
I'm not sure if it's a bigger business.
बिगर
I know that it's an
मतलब फास्टेस्ट ग्रोथ किसमें होगी?
again not sure, right? Because basically leasing to someone is taking that underwriting risk, which is different with 10 cars and very different at 1,000 cars. Um, again, buying your car and giving it to some other operator to earn will be a function of how that math economics adds up in terms of the risk that you are taking and the rewards that you are getting.
Yeah.
So these things are already happen, or they already happen, right, in different ways in the entire industry. But I'm not sure in terms of how scalable they are and what challenges, or rather if the pace of growth is faster here versus like an aggregator. But they are existing businesses.
तो अगर आज के टाइम पे लाइक आई एम 21-year-old और बहुत सारे लोग होंगे इसी एज में, व्हाट्स योर एज बाय द वे?
Much older. Let's put it like that.
How much?
No, I'm not going to say that on air in public, but I'm much older.
ओके फाइन. सो अगर आज मेरी एज का कोई है यहाँ 21 से 25 वाला जो MBA भी नहीं कर रहा है, कुछ नहीं है, एंड बैचलर्स वगैरह कर चुका है और उसको अपना खुद का कुछ स्टार्ट करना है, सो क्या मतलब उसके लिए कुछ पीस ऑफ एडवाइस? क्योंकि हाउ मेनी जॉब्स हैव यू क्विट एक्चुअली बिफोर स्टार्टिंग शॉफर? इससे पहले क्या करते थे?
I'm a finance guy, so most of my education and career has been in the world of finance, in different parts of the world of finance. So I have done full-time jobs at Goldman Sachs, D. Shaw and Company, Towers Watson, small case. And I've done internships at Deutsche Bank, Business Standard, and a non-profit organization called Swadhar.
ओके.
So yeah, I've had 7 jobs before I started Shoffr.
हाँ, तो फिर तो सही लग रहा है एडवाइस देने के लिए. एंड एक तो आज के टाइम में जो लोग जॉब क्विट कर रहे हैं उनके लिए एडवाइस कि लाइक अभी क्या है स्पेशली पोस्ट कोविड कि लोगों को जॉब छोड़ने में एक बहुत ज़्यादा एक डर वाली फीलिंग है कंपेरेटिवली व्हाट आई फील. लाइक ऑब्वियसली 21 का हूँ, मेरे को फ़र्क नहीं पड़ेगा अगर मैं जॉब छोड़ दूँ क्योंकि अभी पापा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ ले रहे हैं. बट अगर आज कोई 25-30 का है और वो अपनी जॉब स्विच भी करना चाहता है, लाइक स्विच इन द सेंस कि एक छोड़ी और उसके बाद देखेगा अगली में क्या करना है, तो उसके लिए क्या एडवाइस है?
I mean, know why you're doing what you're doing, right? This fear of quitting a job is not like a newish thing. It may have gotten a bit more enhanced after COVID, but even earlier, like like when I was starting out my career, people were like, if you're going to quit, there'll be a gap in your resume. How will you explain, right? In that sense, the world has actually evolved a lot more. Today, people are understanding if you're telling that, okay, you want to take like a break, or you're taking a gap year or of sorts, or you're just kind of taking time off to travel. 10-15 years back, that wasn't as cool to say. And you had to kind of, maybe justify more to your employer why you had that break. Like I've definitely had to explain that to people in my career. So the advice is, if you are quitting a job, then you should know why you are quitting it and what is it that you want out of that time that you will now have. And it could be anything. It could be to spend time with family or travel or to work on an idea, but whatever it is, and you should be sure as to like, acha, theek hai, I'm quitting for this reason, and I have next X months ahead of me, and I want to kind of do these few things in that time frame. So that is the advice I would give on that front.
एंड अगर कोई अपनी मतलब entrepreneurial जर्नी स्टार्ट कर रहा है, सो आई वाज विद दिस गाय कॉल्ड अक्षय वर्मा, द फाउंडर ऑफ फिटपास.
Okay.
सो उनसे जब बात कर रहा था, उनका बेसिकली ऐसा था, फॉर 6 गुड years ही वाज इन न्यूयॉर्क, देन ही मूव टू लंदन, फिर सबैटिकल पे इंडिया, एंड देन इन दैट पीरियड ही स्टार्टेड हिज कंपनी. एंड उनका तो इनफैक्ट वो 1 साल में भी ये प्लान था कि फैमिली के साथ अच्छे से टाइम स्पेंड करके बैक टू यूएस.
Sure.
तो और लेकिन उन्होंने एकदम अलग ही चीज़ कर दी फिर.
Yeah.
तो आज जो लाइक फाउंडर लाइफ के लिए साइन अप कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि आपने इतना कुछ करा है, आपको 3 बजे भी रात को कॉल आया होगा कि शॉफर में ये वाली इशू आया है, और वहीं लाइक कुछ डेज रहे होंगे जहाँ पर बिल्कुल कोई इशू भी नहीं रहा होगा. तो सबको एक बहुत ग्लैमरस पार्ट दिखता है. लाइक रिसेंटली फाउंडर ऑफ गो जीरो किरण शाह, ही रोट ऑन लिंक्डइन और मे बी ऑन इंस्टाग्राम, आई डोंट रिमेंबर एग्जैक्टली. तो उन्होंने बताया था कि सबको फाउंडर लाइफ ग्लैमरस लगती है, लेकिन उन्होंने दिखाया कि रात को 3:30 ही वोक अप, 6 o'clock ही लैंडेड इन बैंगलोर, रात को 8-9 बजे तक ही कंप्लीटेड हिज 4 मीटिंग्स, देन अराउंड 9 o'clock ही लेफ्ट फ्रॉम देयर, फिर उसके बाद वापस से बॉम्बे एंड नेक्स्ट डे मॉर्निंग ऑफिस. तो वो चीज़ बहुत ग्लैमरस लगती है कि शार्क टैंक में चले गए, बहुत फंडिंग उठा ली, पैसे आ गए अकाउंट में. लेकिन जो फाउंडर लाइफ के लिए साइन अप कर रहे हैं, उसके लिए क्या पीस ऑफ एडवाइस है?
उसके लिए पीस ऑफ एडवाइस ये है दैट, एंड इन जनरल ऑल्सो फॉर लाइक ऑल ऑफ दैट, लाइक you can't escape hard work, firstly. In fact, like the more you do it, the earlier on you do that, the more time you put, the more you can reap the benefits as you grow in your career and your business. And the kind of things you do is or you have to do are a function of many choices, including what your personality type is, how much capital you have behind you, whether it's your own or someone else's backing, and all of that, because running a business is about prioritization of resources, and there's only two, which is capital and time. So the less capital you have, the more you have to kind of like put time to make bunch of things work, which can otherwise be solved a bit smoother with throwing capital at it. So you have to be mindful as to like what your life is, what your situation is, and then see whether or not what you're planning fits accordingly, and make those choices to make that happen. For example, you may want to start something which could have the potential to revolutionize the world, but will be a capital intensive thing, because उसमें हो सकता है तुम्हें कुछ एक product बनाना होगा जो 3 साल बाद, जो 3 साल लगेगा, and all of that. Now you can either sustain it yourselves and call it bootstrapped, but how much capital you have behind you will make a huge difference in terms of वो bootstrap कितना कर सकते हो और नहीं कर सकते हो. And then you have to be like, अच्छा ठीक है, what, this is a business that requires this much, I have to go speak to institutional investors or investors of sorts and make that also happen. So these are all kind of decisions that you as a founder have to take, and then what happens and how you run is going to be a function of many things. So there is obviously the non-glamorous or the hustle side of founder life as well, and a lot of it is a function of tumhara circumstances. Some of it is also a personal preference ki how you want to be. Like I know enough people in the corporate world as well who complain about their bosses just not like having a life, for example, or like 3 o'clock also they are responding to emails, and they are not running their businesses, but they are at senior positions at large companies. And it's their personal choice to a good extent how they want to be, right?
बिल्कुल. तो अब एक बात बताओ, जैसे what part you are on, ओयो के रितेश अग्रवाल on one side, he says one thing कि execution is very important part, And do you believe is there a correlation of learning and earning? Because on the other side, Kishore Biyani, he says one thing कि it's more about कि आज की generation is just executing before even strategizing properly. Whereas like दोनों बहुत ही अलग टाइप के statements हैं. What do you think कि is execution very important या strategize करो perfect हो और उसके बाद फिर उस पर execute करना start करो?
I don't think like it's either or. I think both are important. Obviously, you can strategize something and not be able to execute it. So execution, you know,
ये तो
कितना thoughtful है तुम्हारा execution and how that has gone. Strategy is part of that. In fact, like even what is it that you're even trying to execute will be a function of or reflection of your strategy.
वैसे एक बात बोलूँ, जब मेरी फर्स्ट बैंगलोर में राइड थी लाइक विथ माई पेरेंट्स, जब मैं पहली बार कॉलेज वॉलेज देखने जा रहा था, उस टाइम पे बात हुई थी कि अपन लोग ऐसी कोई कैब कंपनी चालू करते हैं जो कि एकदम ऐसे टॉप टीयर चीज़ हो कि जैसे बॉम्बे वगैरह में मैंने आपको बताया उस टाइप की, या वो जो बैंगलोर में प्राइम केयर करके एक एयरपोर्ट पे रहता है, सो दे गिव 3 सीरीज एंड 5 सीरीज एंड ऑल BMW की. तो हमने सोचा था कि वैसा ही कुछ जिसका थोड़ा सस्ता ऑल्टरनेटिव लाके लेकिन बेटर क्वालिटी के साथ, क्योंकि हमें एक बहुत ही ख़राब ड्राइवर मिला था and like full 1.5 hour, like obviously we were new to the city, new to the culture, we didn't know Kannada at that time. तो कुछ समझ भी नहीं आया. 1.5 hour मैं शॉटगन पे बैठा हुआ हूँ एंड वो मेरे पास में बस बातें ही किए जा रहे हैं, पता नहीं क्या चल रहा है, एंड हम तीनों आपस में बात नहीं कर रहे हैं थिंकिंग कि उसका शायद कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट कॉल चल रहा है, बट डाउन द लाइन मेरे को रियलाइज़ हुआ कि ये तो ये आदत है यहाँ पे. एंड उसके बाद फिर कभी ना कभी मैंने सोचा था कि जेप्टो भी मतलब कर सकता हूँ कि मैं ग्रॉसरी स्टोर वाले से बात करूँगा कि मैं 10 मिनट में लोगों के घर तक ग्रॉसरी पहुँचा दूँगा, या किसी बहुत लोगों ने स्विगी सोचा होता है. तो एग्जीक्यूशन बीट्स परफेक्शन, बट ऑन लाइक व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट दिस?
I mean, see, everything apart from execution is essentially just an idea in your head.
हाँ.
Right? So it's not like execute एक चीज़ किया तो ख़त्म हो गया. It's kind of like a loop, right? You've thought of something, you execute, you kind of learn 5 other things, you execute, you learn 5 other things, you execute that, and so on and so forth, right? So I don't think they are mutually exclusive कि आप सिर्फ execute करो या आप सिर्फ strategize करो. You know, the results or the best results are basically a combination of both. And I do think it's true that, you know, it's better to kind of go out there, make a mistake, learn from that, fix that, as opposed to like spending a lot of time just in theory seeing which is the best option. Because you will never have 100% certainty for anything. But of course, the more conviction you build in something, the better you can, you know, kind of confidently execute that. But ये सब चीज़ का trade-offs है. But it's a loop.
There's a beautiful line, a plan without an action is just a dream. तो ये वाले को like इसी बात को आप put करा जो आपने इतना बोला. If you think.
I guess, sure. Yeah.
अच्छा, I always do this. What are the like top 3 books you would like to recommend to someone like जो आज start करने वाला है, या even if not starting, like the top 3 according to you? Because what I feel, books are a very good source. Like recently मैंने पढ़ना start करा है, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं करूँगा. No, it's not even been like 1 proper year अभी तो. But हाँ, like what I understood कि मैं लोगों की life से already सीख पा रहा हूँ कि उन्होंने जो mistakes करी थी, and podcast is doing its work, but books will do their work. So what are the top 3 books according to you?
My favorite book still remains this book called Sapiens, which is quite popular, so I don't think I have to talk much about it. But from my perspective, even though I'd spent years in the world of finance, it still helped me to kind of piece together a bunch of things as to, like, you know, how the world really works around credit and money and, you know, all of that. And in different aspects of life as well. So I highly recommend that book. From purely like startup lens perspective, there's a book called Maverick. That was interesting as to how they shaped up the company. It was like a family business of sorts, which a young Maverick took over in that sense, and then it's a true story. So there's a lot of inspiration and learnings from there. And I mean, I like things. These are not really books, but like, you know, things that Paul Graham writes on his website. Those are pretty insightful. And 0 to 1 is also something I would recommend.
Yeah.
That said, any founder, I think it's extremely important that they know the nuances of finance. There is no escaping. You could be like building a tech product that is far away from finance, but you have to operate in the world where financial system is an integral part of it. So understanding those things, I think, is very beneficial irrespective of the kind of company or product you're selling, or the company you have, or the product service you're selling.
Okay, so after all this like insightful conversation we had, one line, if you have to like motivate someone or like have to tell someone who are going out and starting their own ventures or about to quit their jobs, switch to new jobs, what would it be?
I don't know about motivation or anything, but the advice I would give, and this was an advice that I got from a businessman that I really respect, was that, you know, building your business, you have to build it in your image. So there will always be like 15 things that you can do, but like you have to kind of build the business in your image, which means that, you know, you can, the business is a reflection of your values, your principles, your choices, your decisions. So own it and fix it, whatever you think is not good, and own the rest of it, because you are the one who is taking the calls, and you have to build your confidence or already use your existing confidence, and where you think you are not, it's something that you can improve upon, you should try your best to do that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for this insightful conversation. And I hope कि it helped a lot of people out there. And शायद आज कोई अपना वो एक idea जो इसने इतने टाइम से सोचा हो, आज शायद कोई इसकी वजह से execute कर दे. And I think I'll be the happiest person कि किसी की life में हम लोग value add कर पाए.
I mean, that would also make me very happy. Yeah, I hope that happens. Thank you for having me.
No worries. So guys, make sure you like, share and subscribe to this channel ताकि हम आपके लिए और भी अच्छे अच्छे गेस्ट ला पाएँ एंड आप लोगों को और टॉप 1% से क्या क्या आप लोग उनसे सीख सकते हैं इस बारे में मैं उनसे पूछ पाऊँ एंड वी कैन गो अबाउट इट.